Hi, I'm Rick Barron, your host, and welcome to That's Life, I Swear. This just in. It's breaking news. Really? Again? Let's jump into this. After many days of speculation, news finally came about Tom Brady and his retirement from professional football. Now, he broke this news on Instagram. And in short, he said he wanted to not come back to competitive football again, and he wanted to start enjoying his life and focus on things that were more important to him, like his family. Now, he posted this on Instagram, and no sooner than it was posted that it came across the newsreel as breaking news. Well, we already heard it, so why do we have to hear it on the news channels? I guess everyone wants to join to see what's going on. But seriously, was there any surprise that Tom Brady was going to retire? I wish him well. Life happens, people, and we have to move on. Currently, it feels like all news is breaking news. There is such a fine line between being informed and becoming completely overwhelmed. We all want to be in the know. What do they call it? The fear of missing out? But what is breaking news? I thought about this and I thought, take a look-see. So I thought I'd take a look over on Wikipedia to see what I can find out about what is breaking news. Well, breaking news, also termed late breaking news, and also known as a special report or special coverage or newsflash, is considered breaking news. That's a mouthful. It's news that broadcasters feel warrants the interruption of scheduled programming or current news so they can share all the details. Its use is also assigned to the most significant story of the moment or story that is being covered live. Today's social media networks have changed everything. With the launching of Facebook, Twitter, chat rooms, TikTok, and others, social media has taken over the TV channel's domain of news. If you have a smartphone, a laptop, or other electronic devices and are plugged into the online landscape, anyone can learn news, 24/7. Today, before the news channels can report the breaking news, you can already get it before they do on your smartphone, laptop, or other electronic devices. So, things have changed. Surveys show that people respond to the term breaking news more than they would just hearing about something is coming across the news line. It's almost like an addiction that forces one to tune into the story. Now, I find the phrase has been so overused that I question whether the story labeled as breaking news is really worthy of that title. With so much news data being fed to us on an hourly and daily basis, the human psyche has a case of breaking news fatigue. Now, we can't give all credit to social media for abusing the breaking news tagline. We need to go back a little bit further than that to the early 1980s, when CNN came into the picture. It was launched in June of 1980 by Ted Turner as a 24-hour cable news channel. CNN took the news gavel and quickly became the hub of dramatic live coverage, and dare I say it, breaking news. Other CNN-type news outlets soon popped up, and well, you know the rest of the story. Breaking news has been overused ad nauseum. News stories branded with that tagline are so badly used today that its true purpose is beginning to lose its meaning, if not already. Today, what isn't breaking news? Couldn't we mix it up now and then and use terms such as flash bulletin, alert, or this just in? Well, I guess that's not dramatic enough, I guess. I'm also intrigued by the graphics used by our media outlets. It's that vibrant red background with the colossal capital letters spelling out breaking news, which kind of creates a sense of seriousness in the mind of the viewer. I guess it's all about visuals today. Of course, what would the breaking news be without the in-your-face dramatic music? The tone and beat registers pending danger. Look out, here it comes. Some of the music almost sounds like the theme to an upcoming dramatic movie. The breaking news of the day continues to get rehashed, and not only daily, but for days on end. There was a time when the news of the day was delivered, unvarnished, and that was it. Today one can go to a cable news channel at 6 a.m., and the key topics are presented, only to be repeated an hour later on the same cable channel, but via a different reporter, and then sometimes with a different tone and delivery. I mean, do we need to hear the same breaking news for the next 12 hours? I know I'm dating myself here, but I look back at the days when Walter Cronkite would present the evening news. It was to the point, not polished, not enamored with dramatic music to enhance the message. The news then was just the news. It was left to the viewer to mull over its significance. Trying to remember when I first started hearing the phrase breaking news and how it took off as announcing the news. I think back to the day when the Gulf War started during President George H.W. Bush. And in simplest terms, Mr. Bush did come to the rescue of Kuwait, as it was invaded by the forces of Saddam Hussein. Prior to the start of the U.S. coming to Kuwait's aid, during and after, the cable news reporters were all over the unfolding of the Gulf War. Every day and evening, we were fed breaking news of our troops landing and making quick work of Saddam's army. It was continuous cable networks plastering the airwaves with news that changed minute to minute. A few years later, we had September the 11th, and the breaking news alerts intensified. I would guess such news alerts were justified under those circumstances. Now fast forward to today, and we have the mixed cable news networks and social media mixed not only with breaking news, but now mixed with news one has to determine if it is really believable or fake. With cable companies fighting over each other to be the center for stories, they sometimes stumble over themselves and end up taking a step back after discovering the breaking news reporting was an error. A case in point, during a campaign stop in January of 2011, Representative Gabriel Giffords was standing outside a Safeway store giving a speech. Before anyone knew what was happening, a man ran from the crowd and started firing a pistol, striking 19 people, along with Miss Giffords, who was seriously wounded. Some of the nation's most respected news outlets, including some major newspapers, wrongly reported breaking news that Giffords had died. Coupled with the digital age, bad information spreads fast when reporters post erroneous updates on Twitter or social media. With the Giffords story, one major news outlet sent out an email earlier saying the Congresswoman had died. And the same outlet, social media editor, tweeted the same thing to millions of Twitter followers. Fortunately, the story of Giffords' death turned out to be an error. So much for being first with a news story. I imagine the various media news outlets have all gravitated to the phrase breaking news because the data bears out that the phrase gathers much more viewers than normal news, whatever normal means today. But seriously, not everything on this earth is breaking news. With media channels climbing over one another for ratings boosts, they find themselves taking what would be normal news events and then inflating them to be bigger stories than they need to be. I mean, I'd love to see a news channel take a different approach and say, this just in, instead of breaking news, to avoid the confusion between the two situations. I would think for a news outlet to clearly call it breaking news, your staff would at least be the first to report the story. Even with that notion, it appears that all news outlets take such liberty with the term that one gets confused as to who really brought the story to light. With social media, outlets like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, newsmakers and reporters can instantly send messages to the public. Being the first to report an event or having an original story is becoming blurry. Guess maybe this is where the term fake news comes into play. There was a time when a critical news event came about, the media news stations would interrupt a regular television or radio broadcast with the call, "We interrupt this program for an important announcement." The words breaking news was never used. Just hearing "we interrupt this program" was enough of a suspense attention, getting you to stop you in your tracks. There are those moments when the breaking news helps draw a sense of excitement only to have a big letdown. And what do I mean by that? I think you've seen it before. The reporter starts off with a major news event just happening to then be followed with, "Well, we don't have a lot of details at the moment, but we're hoping." Hoping? to have more details as they come in. So you interrupt my program to get me hyped up, and then you telling me you're hoping more details will arrive soon? Okay, back to my football game. It's not like we can control all that takes place in the world. We want news, and we want the breaking news 24/7. With regards to breaking news, it would be cool if we could tell the news media outlets that if your team finds the story first, you get to lay claim to breaking news and no one else. Perhaps make it a rule that for the day, no more than one breaking news story and no more than 3 in 1 week. Yeah, like that's going to happen, but one can dream. So what's the lesson learned here? What's the takeaway from this story I just discussed with you? With everything available in an instant in our ever-rapid technology world, our obsession with the news, what's trending, what's breaking, is our digital fix for the day. Our attention span for breaking news shifts from one trend to the other. If it's not COVID-19, to individuals taking their frustration attacking the U.S. Capitol, or conspiracy theories, we want our daily feed of breaking news. Even for some of the reporters out in the field today, now want to ensure themselves and their news outlet that they are the first to report the most intriguing and sensational story for the ratings. Events that drew some sense of significance would take place on occasion back in the day. Now, all of a sudden, if it bleeds, any and all events happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, qualifies for breaking news. This makes for big business, particularly for the All News Network. With so much upheaval for many people in the world, it's no surprise that they try to avoid the breaking news carousel. I think we should all take a pause and measure what we see come across the various news media outlets as breaking news. Ask yourself if you feel you're being manipulated with what is a worthy news event or an event that's been turned upside down, if only for manufactured sensationalism. Today, news media outlets know how to feed our appetite to what's breaking and what will happen next. We all have the means to change the channel or turn off the TV, but why should we have to make that decision? Our society has been conditioned that something wicked is happening out there in the world. It's happening every day, and believe it or not, it's taking place 24 hours a day. When we hear the dramatizing music and the flashing red bulletin with the gigantic white capital letters, we know we better stay glued to our seats, regardless if the details are sketchy at the moment. Our society has been pulled into a rabbit hole thinking that we expect there to be another catastrophic happening. We become numb to seeing the breaking news billboard flash across our screens for everything that occurs on this planet. Journalists are said to take advantage on our negative bias to capture our attention. What's worrisome, the constant news stories that come across the airwaves tends to make our world worse than it truly is. So how can we take control of this ongoing nonsense of breaking news? First, it's important to be aware that your news consumption can look very different via different sources. Traditional news outlets tend to focus on facts, whereas stories, rumors, and human interest pieces are amplified on social media. Know that as human beings, we are subject to bias, which the news outlets know and are ready to jump on it. When we see the constant flash of breaking news across our TV screens, take it with a grain of salt. Take a deep breath before jumping into that rabbit hole. But wait, here's more breaking news. Tom Brady is back from retirement after only 40 days. Now that's breaking news. Got ya. Well, there you go. What can I say? That's life, I swear. As always, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe here or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. See you soon.